Hi friends, welcome to English Study Point. Today in this video lecture I am going to talk about rest of the abolitionist writers. First I am going to talk about Lewis Clark. So he was born in the year 1815 in a place called Tennis. Clark was the son of a white plantation owner and a slave woman at the age of 6. Lewis Clark, along with his mother, transported to a place called Kentucky, and he experienced horrors of slavery. So, when he was in this institution of slavery, he endured physical and emotional abuse throughout his childhood that formed a kind of experience for him. So, in the year 1844, Clark successfully escaped slavery and made his way to Boston. This means that after attaining freedom, he sailed to Boston and he developed his interest in writing. Writing provided him a source through which he is able to release his emotional pain. When Lewis Clark just started writing, he first wrote a memoir titled as Narrative of the Sufferings and Escape of Lewis Clark during a captivity of more than 25 years amongst the Algerines of Kentucky, one of the so-called Christian states of North America. This work was published in the year 1845. This book became one of the earliest published accounts of slavery written by a formerly enslaved person. It tries to recount dangers of enslavement. Story begins from his slave and plantation owning grandfather raping a female slave. And this work also tells separation of families and constant threat of physical punishment. The book also sheds light on the complexities of race and identity. So, Clark in this work also tries to grapple with his mixed race heritage and tries to find his place in society as a free men. His second memoir, titled as Narrative of the Sufferings of Lewis Clark, published in the year 1846. The book delves deeper into Clark's experiences as a free man and provides insights into the various challenges he faced. It also addresses issues such as racial prejudice and social inequality which exist during mid 19th centuries. So these two memoirs provide essential first-hand accounts of the brutal reality of slavery and serves as powerful testament to resilience and strength of those who endured it. The character of George Harris in Uncle Tom's Cabin is modeled on Lewis Clark. So this is an important fact about this particular man. Here I am going to talk about William Wells Brown. He was an African American abolitionist, writer, and lecturer born on November 6 in the year 1814 in a place which is situated in Kentucky called as Lexington. He was regarded as the first African American to achieve distinction, means he achieved great sort of excellence or greatness or prominency in as a writer of literature, and he was able to escape from bondage in the year 1834. He sought shelter on a steamboat in Ohio. He made his way to Cleveland and settled in Buffalo, which is situated in New York. This means that this sort of newfound freedom allowed Brown to pursue his intellectual passions and advocate for the abolition of slavery. So Brown afterwards became an active abolitionist and lecturer. He traveled much across places like US, Europe. So he was well traveled as a slave, and through his travel experiences he educated himself, and with this education he tries to share his experiences and knowledge with others. Now, his most famous work, titled as Narrative of William W. Brown, a Fugitive Slave, published in the year 1847. This was the first published autobiography by an African American. It depicted his life as a slave, his escape to freedom. The narrative became a bestseller and was instrumental in exposing the horrors of slavery to a wider audience. His second version of autobiography, titled as 3 Years in Europe or Places I have Seen and People I Have Met, which was published in the year 1852. This is considered to be as the first travel book by an African American. Another work, titled as Clotel or the President's Daughter, published in the year 1853. This is regarded as the first full-length African American novel. So this novel, considered the first published novel by an African American, it tells the story of the mixed race daughter of President Thomas Jefferson and his slave mistress. Through this story, Brown highlights the hypocrisy of a society that promotes freedom and equality while perpetuating the institution of slavery. Another work, titled as The Escape or A Leap for Freedom, which was published in the year 1858. This is considered to be as the first play by an African American. Another work, titled as The American Fugitive in Europe, Sketches of Places and People Abroad, published in the year 1855. In this work, he discusses his experiences and observations while traveling through Europe. Next work is The Rising Sun or the Antecedents and Advancement of the Colored Race, published in the year 1874. In this work, he tries to do an examination of African American history and achievements. Two of his works, which are published by him, are considered to be as historical works. First is titled as The Black Man, His Antecedents, His Genius and His Achievements, published in the year 1863. Another work, titled as The Negro in the American Rebellion, published in the year 1867. This is considered to be as the first military history of the African American. So these two works are based on history. Now, final autobiography published by him is titled as My Southern Home or the South and Its People. So in this work, he focused on the power struggles between blacks and the whites in the South before and after the Civil War. Here I am talking about a person whose name is Frederick Douglass. He is considered as the most famous African American anti-slavery leader and orator of the era. He was born in a place called Maryland, but he fled to the north. He supported the women's suffrage, in which he emphasized that all women should be given the right to cast their vote during the elections. He was also a part of anti-slavery movement, in which when he was active in this movement, he believed in equality to all people. He regarded slaves as human beings. He insists to everyone that slaves and people from high caste should be treated equally. In the year 1836 to 1838, he escaped from slavery along with Anna Murray, his future wife, and joined the radical Garrisonian wing of abolitionist movement. He started his own newspaper in the year 1847. In this particular year, he started this newspaper, and he used this newspaper to raise awareness about the abolitionist movement and advocate for the rights of African Americans. The paper was known for its thoughtful articles and powerful speeches, which helped mobilize public opinion against slavery. Here I am discussing list of works published by Frederick Douglass. First is titled as Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, published in the year 1842. This is considered as best of the antebellum fugitive slave narratives. Antebellum means before the Civil War. It is a autobiography. It is an autobiography and a memoir of Frederick Douglass, who was a slave writer, fought for the abolition of slavery. So this work is primarily a narrative of his psychological and intellectual struggle against slavery. This work is regarded as an abolitionist text. So, a text which talks about the idea to abolish or end the slavery in US. It describes Douglas' life as a slave before he is freed. Story in this text is told from first person perspective. In this work, he highlights in slaves' inhuman treatment that they receive from slave traders. So, how they are sold, brutally treated, and they are also sold like objects. All this is described in this particular narrative or memoir. Another is famous speech which was given by him or delivered by him on July 5th in the year 1852, and speech is titled as What to the Slave is the 4th of July. In this speech, Douglas criticized the hypocrisy of celebrating freedom while millions of African Americans remained enslaved. He called for immediate emancipation and equal rights for all in this speech. Then is work which is titled as The Heroic Slave, a heartwarming narrative of the adventure of Madison, Washington in pursuit of liberty, which was published in the year 1852. This is first work of long fiction in African American literature, which is to be serialized in newspaper called North Star. This work is based on an actual slave mutiny. Another work titled as My Bondage, My Freedom, published in the year 1855. This work gives detailed description of his transition from bondage to freedom, and also talk about and inform readers about the stories of cruelty about his own experience as a slave. In this work, he tries to attack Northern racism, and this work has an introduction by James Mr. McCune Smith, and who is considered as an abolitionist who influenced Douglas during his lifetime. Another work titled as Life and Times of Frederick Douglass. This work is considered to be his autobiography, which was published in the year 1881. This is a memoir as well as a treatise on abolition. His life as a slave talks about his escape from slavery and variety of accomplishments that he achieved during his lifetime. Next, I am talking about Harriet Jacobs. Harriet Jacobs was born on 11 Feb in the year 1813 in Edenton, which is situated in North Carolina. Incidents he published a work called Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, written by herself, which was published in the year 1861. This work was written under the pseudonym Linda Brent in the year 1861. This was one of the first accounts to openly discuss the sexual abuse and exploitation experienced by enslaved women. In this work, she tries to describe the complex challenges and moral dilemmas faced by enslaved women who seeking to protect themselves and their families. The book also sheds light on the broader issues of the institution of slavery, the dehumanizing effects it had on individuals, and the impact on family dynamics. This work focuses on the taboo topic of a woman's sexual history in slavery. So, Linda in this work presents herself as a fallen woman and heroic mother, critiquing the ideology of true womanhood. So, after a happy childhood in slavery, she was sexually harassed by Dr. Flint. She got an another time we see that she got sexually involved with a white laborer and had two children. She had to run away and hide for 7 years, finally escaping to the north. There she is reunited with her children and she meets the other abolitionists. Next, I am talking about Harriet Tubman. She was born into slavery in a place called Dorchester, which is situated in Maryland around 1822. Her real name was Araminta Ross, but she later adopted the name Harriet Tubman after marrying John Tubman. In her early 20s, Tubman escaped slavery, leaving her husband behind. So, with the help of the Underground Railroad, a network of abolitionists and safe houses, she made her way to Philadelphia, which is in Pennsylvania, where she gained her freedom. Tubman dedicated her life to helping others escape slavery. She escaped from slavery in the year 1849 and rescued more than 200 slaves. Which made her earn the nickname Moses amongst the enslaved community. Because of the reason she helped others, that made her earn the nickname Moses amongst the enslaved community. So she used many sorts of disguises, aliases, and secret signals to communicate and navigate safely. Her determination and commitment to freedom inspired those whom she helped, which made her earn this particular nickname. And she recounted her story to Sarah Elizabeth Bradford, who wrote about her, who wrote work based on her life, which is titled as Scenes in the Life of Harriet Tubman, which was published in the year 1869. So, this particular lady grew up experiencing the harsh realities of slavery, including physical abuse and separation from her family. So, she took lot many efforts in order to make herself free first, and when she freed herself, she tried to help others and let others out from the clutches of slavery. Now, with this particular video lecture ends here. Hope this video lecture will help you in your UGC NET English Literature exams. Thank you.